Sorry. Thank you. Apologize for missing that. It wasn't on my program, and apologize for that. But and thank you, Joe, for sponsoring the hall here for this evening. And I'm sure that you'll have lots of information for your paper for the next months and months, probably. Thank you. I'd like to now get underway with the presentations from the councillors, and each councillor will have 2 minutes to make their presentation. First councillor will be Chris Umstead.
Hello, I'm Chris Umstead. What does Whitewater region look like next year, in 3 to 5 or 10 years? What plans do we have for infrastructure, agriculture, tourism, recreation? Have we examined public-private partnerships that appear to be working well for townships and encourage new business? What about business development and housing growth? Are we thinking of these areas when making decisions that affect our future? Are we supporting our seniors to ensure they have access to quality local health care? These are questions we need to be asking right now, not in 5 or 10 years. The vital pillar to lead Whitewater in the future is the improved planning. There are other important areas, including agriculture and baseline tax growth, but everything starts with a solid plan. If we don't know where we're going, we will never get there. We need a strategy plan for 1, 3 to 5, and 10 years so we can start the process of applying for funding now. Despite rumors to the contrary, there is grant money available. You just have to know where it is. It's time we start changing our conversations from my to our, and from I to we. It's time we change our thinking from issues to opportunities. Every issue brings a spotlight on an area to improve. We need to ask ourselves, how can we improve Whitewater region? Take out your wallet and place enough money in it for 4 years worth of taxes, water and sewer and other user fees. That's somewhere around $20,000 to the average person. And walk up here and give it to somebody. That's essentially what you're being asked to do with your vote. Who are you going to put it in front of? Someone you trust? Someone who has a proven track record? Someone who has the ability to manage people, resources, and finances? Or will it be your friend, your neighbor, or a relative? Please choose someone you can truly trust with your future, your children's future, and your wallet. Our future depends on it. Thank you.
Change mics. They're saying this mic is better than this mic, so we'll hand the cable mic. Did you not hear him?
Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of issues in this election, but to me the most important one is growth and development. And the reason for that is if you have those two things, growth and development, then you have a prosperous municipality with the resources that can be put towards the other issues. The difficulty is it's really hard to have growth and development. It does not come easy, and we have provincial policies that hinder people that want to do things in this municipality. In the old days, if there were a government or a ruler that wanted to steal, they did it by force. Now what they do is they do it with words and designation. They designate your property, sensitive lakes, archaeological assessments, endangered species, all these things that steal the value of private property so that the people that do want to have growth, that do want to have development, they don't have the freedom to do that on their own property. And so I think that we have an opportunity with our new official plan and the new zoning bylaw that we're going to get to fight the provincial government. And I do believe that there's a war between urban Ontario and rural Ontario. For some reason, they think, the people in the cities think that we who live and work in rural Ontario are spoiling it, and I want it to stop. Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, maybe it wasn't explained, the first bell is kind of giving you 30 seconds to wind down. So sorry about that, Joe and Chris. So when you hear the bell, you have 30 seconds. You hear the second bell, sit down.
Our next candidate is Howard Winters. Howard.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, when I was a child, I was adopted and raised by Gladys Winters, who lived most of her life in this village. One of the ways that she made ends meet was to care for elderly people in her home. One of the people that she took care of was the widely respected publisher of the Cobden Sun, Arthur L. McCready, who stayed in our home under my mother's loving care until he passed away some 2 years later. When I moved back to Cobden, I learned that the Eganville Leader, which had its own paper and all of the resources necessary to produce a newspaper, had already decided that the Cobden Sun was not a viable enterprise. It would have been very easy to do nothing. However, because of my fond memories of Arthur McCready, and because I felt it was a valuable community resource, against the odds, I took on the challenge of trying to revive it. For 2 years, I poured my time, energy, and personal funds into making it work. Regretfully, there simply wasn't enough advertising revenue for it to sustain the business. Regardless of the degree of criticism that I've received for this decision, I'm glad I made the effort for this daunting challenge, and I'm able to say that I've tried my best. I'm involved in the Beachburg Ag Society, the Cobden Legion, the Cobden Curling Club, and I've organized and brought the first Whitewater Ram Rodeo to the Ottawa Valley. I have the time, energy, and business-oriented qualifications to serve you faithfully as a councillor. I'm here tonight to ask humbly for your support. If selected to serve you, the principles I'll apply to every action are accountability, accessibility, stewardship, and transparency. I've explained those in the brochure that I sent out to everyone. They're here tonight as well. And I've explained why they're important to me and why I think they should be important to you as a taxpayer as well. This week, vote for positive change. Please vote. Thank you.
Thanks, they don't have to, if the cord reaches, they can stay where they are. They don't have to come center stage unless they want to. Bring them center stage? Come center stage then. They want to see it. It's really only fair because there's half on this side and half on that side, and this other way it might tip.
Our next candidate is Dave McKay. Aye.
Thank you. I've lived in Whitewater Township for 36 years, or Westmead Township. I raised my family there. I farm there. Some of my qualifications for trying to get on the board, trying to get on the council is I was president of the National Farmers Union for 7 years. At this time, we learned to lobby government, municipal, federal, and provincial governments, worked on committees, worked with bureaucrats. It gave me a little insight into how government runs. I've also been on the Fair Board for 8 years. We started at the Beachburg Fair Board. We had no money. We got a new group together and we worked hard. We built 3 new buildings, improved the infrastructure, improved the attendance from 4,500 to 9,500, and at the end of 8 years we have a surplus, which is pretty good for a small fair. Everything I learned about government and working in these organizations, things move slowly. Everything moves incrementally one way or the other. And a little story to kind of emphasize that. In 1982, I worked on a drill ship up in the Arctic, and the rule of the drill ship, if an iceberg comes within 1 kilometer of the drill ship, you have to pull off the wellhead. It takes 20 hours to get back on, and it's $50,000 an hour, so 20 hours is $1 million. One morning we woke up and a large iceberg was coming right at us, not like Titanic. Anyways, what they did is send 2 ocean-going tugs. They connected to the iceberg and they pulled the iceberg off by 1 degree. So if you can move the culture of the township by 1 degree, it can save us all some money. I'm committed to learn and listen, and I want to provide effective representation. Thank you very much.
Felix Caldwell is the next candidate.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow candidates, fellow ratepayers. I'd like to thank the Whitewater News for having us here this evening. My name is John Felix Tull, and I'm serious about wanting to work for you. I believe in standing up for the people, no matter how small or how large the problem. I believe in curbing unnecessary expenditures and use that money on more necessary things like roads, water, housing, and more business. We have many qualified people in our township, if willing, could join the council committees and give input on problems and solutions instead of the region paying huge amount of money to consultants. I feel residential growth is needed to help solve many of our problems. New homes bring new growth, maybe new families to help keep our school systems alive. Business will come if the population is here to support them. As Ottawa keeps moving our way, we need to have housing available to attract new people, more people to keep our arenas busy and other services viable. New businesses will create more jobs for our youth, keeping them at home to help in Whitewater alive. Tourism is important in our region. We have many beautiful sites, such as the Cobden Park, which, if taken care of, will add revenue to our economy. Whitewater has a diverse population. When the economy tightens, the population has to work together to create cost-saving measures to stay alive. The council needs to be open to new ideas and be open to sharing their ideas with the public. With today's technology, the region can open to the meetings and internet so the people working can see what is being discussed and allowed to give their input. I may be new to your council, but I've been serving this community for over 34 years, different facets of life. I own my own mechanical repair business for the past 16 years and been farming since 1981. I'm president of the Cobden Civitan Club, volunteer firefighter, vice president of the Ontario Landowners, treasurer of the Muskrat Lake Association, retired.
Our next candidate is Donald Lee Broom. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Donald Broom, and I will try to be brief. Toronto politicians, bureaucrats at county council, and unelected municipal administrators have brought upon us regulatory and financial burdens that force us to work harder and live on less. And the worst is yet to come. Indeed, while many of us are just getting by, the province continues to demand from us the financial rewards of our labor. While our region flounders from what I perceive as a lack of leadership, rising service costs, restrictions on development, and infrastructure that continues to decline, well, I will never accept a future so futile, or a destiny so dark that you, my fellow citizens, should ever be trodden underfoot in the winepress of oppression so that big city politicians can indulge their thirst for power. Excuse me. Nor will I ever accept that after reaping to our increase, we should allow our storehouses to be plundered or be forced into financial bondage when our inheritance is to be free. Folks, this is our last chance to get it right. Because if we do not get it right this time, it won't matter how we get it the next time. It will be too late by then. Therefore, let us cast off the bond of convention and break asunder the shackles of impediment. The time has come for change. That being said, I stand ready to represent your interest, and if elected, my hope is you will help me to help you during the next 4 years. Thank you very much. The next candidate is Darrell McLaughlin.
Good evening. I'm Darrell McLaughlin, born and raised on the Queen's Line in the former Township of Ross. Graduated from Opeongo High School. I went on to get a diploma in business at Algonquin College. Worked at ACL the Chalk River for 32 years and retired in 2008. I was elected first to council in 2003 as a councillor for Ward 3. I worked not only for the residents of Ward 3, but Whitewater region as a whole, to the best of my ability. I have learned a lot in the last 11 years. I will bring that experience to the council table, as well as a fair and balanced approach to the issues. I worked on council for the heritage designation of the Ottawa River to be lifted. With the Ottawa River in our backyard, there is room for development, but we must be good stewards of such a valuable asset. We must support the Muskrat Lake Watershed Association and to work towards the water quality in the Muskrat Lake. A council that is proactive in growth and development must offer good infrastructure, but more important, fast, affordable, and reliable high-speed internet service. This has been started with the obtainage of the fiber optic cable on the Grand Settlement Road and to our industrial park. In my opinion, the toughest problem this council will face in the future is to offer good roads and good affordable roads with the declining grants coming down from the government, the provincial government. On October the 27th, I ask you to vote for a fair and balanced approach to the issues of this township.
Our next candidate is Alan Dick.
Thank you very much. Moderators, fellow candidates, ladies and gentlemen. As a hopeful re-elected councillor on October 27, 2014, I look forward to the next 4 years of dealing with 9 areas that I feel are important for Whitewater region, but will only mention 5 at this time because of time restraint. Number 1, controlling tax dollars and obtaining funding for projects. 2, encourage growth and development. 3, infrastructure, and that being roads, streets, water and sewer. 4, environmental, that being Muskrat Lake issue and also recycling. And 5, tourism and agriculture. Concerns. Shortfall in funding from the provincial government has been short of brutal the last 4 years. 2, the OP11, I feel there's not enough teeth in the amendment. 3, provincial policy statement, I've got 4 concerns. A, rural residential development. B, concentrating development in settlements. C, environmental studies, no negative impact. And D, endangered and threatened species. Objectives. Work to have our own policy statement for rural Ontario. Whether that can be done or not, we're going to try. 2, advance BEI subdivision in Cobden. 3, advance subdivisions in Beachburg. 4, advancing the industrial park in the former Westmeath Township. And setting goals to increase growth by 10 to 12% each year. And also come up with an alternative to policing costs. 2 points I want to make in closing. We must look for ways to tighten and strengthen ourselves financially. We must deal with appropriate ministries, engineering, and have our applications, very important, in place. And thank you.
Our next candidate is Donna Burns.
For the past 2 years, I've attended about 99% of all council meetings plus committee meetings. I don't believe council is representing our interests effectively. Either they've forgotten or they don't understand they are an independent corporation. I've spent hundreds of hours reading and studying legislation. Each township was granted a letters patent from the Crown. That's a statutory legal contract from the highest authority that grants them the legal right to operate independently of other municipalities, the county, and the province. They don't need to be dictated by the province, but they fear they won't get any grants if they don't do what the province tells them. That's intimidation. That's how the province controls the municipality. The Crown would never have granted townships independency in the form of a letters patent if the intent was to be controlled by the province. You need a strong council that believes and trusts in their own legislation. That is not one that is not afraid to stand up to the county or the province and say no. I don't believe this council understands their own municipal act, which is the authority or guideline every council must work under. It seems they are very dependent on outside unelected consultants. Over 2 years, council has spent approximately $500,000 in consulting fees. That's the equivalent of at least 5 full-time planners. This brings to question who is really running the show, our elected council or our unelected voice in the back room. It scares me what financial state this municipality is really in. I've witnessed discussions about tapping into the reserves to pay off expenses or taking out debentures to buy equipment for the roads. It's time council stops spending more than what they bring in, or we will be bankrupt. You need a council that has your absolute trust, that will work for the people, and that will manage the affairs of this township as they would manage their own. If elected, I will do my best to protect your interests and the future.
Our next candidate is Charlene Jackson.
Thanks, Dave. Good evening, everyone. My name is Charlene Jackson. I have put my name into this race in hopes that I can bring my knowledge and experience to the table of the council at Whitewater Region. I have 19 years municipal experience, starting in Ross Township, then to Whitewater Region, and I left Whitewater to go to the town of Renfrew as their deputy treasurer. Then to the town of Empire as their deputy treasurer as they wanted some experience. I was recruited by a consulting company and have worked as the treasurer for the Township of Laurentian Valley for the past 3 years. I'm committed to become a team player, no matter who gets on council, to bringing fairness to all the residents in the Township of Whitewater Region, and I am not swayed by area or individuals in making decisions, to making sure our tax dollars are spent wisely. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that need to be asked and find reasonable answers to people's concerns. Over the next 4 years, there will be a number of decisions that council will need to make that will affect each and every one of the residents in the township. It's interesting how some have said that the grant dollars from the federal and provincial government have decreased, and in fact the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund has increased for the Township of Whitewater Region by $93,000, where a lot of municipalities over the county have seen a decrease. I have and I hear the same issues over the past 4 years of council: accountability, road maintenance and construction concerns, economic development. I hope to represent you at council and look forward to finding answers to your concerns. Thank you.
Our next council candidate is Kathy Rieger.
What an exciting time for Whitewater Region. For the first time since amalgamation, you can exercise your democratic right and vote for the candidates who would best represent you despite geographic. My inaugural term has been a learning curve of listening and absorbing from my veteran councillors. With so many policies, procedures, and regulations to learn, I have patiently put in the hard work and have built my confidence level to a place where I now ascertain I can make a difference. I will continue to promote our township as a complete entity, realizing at present each hamlet, village, town, and rural community plays an integral part. This may take years, but I am confident by working together and showing fairness and transparency to all, it can be achieved. I realize throughout this campaign I want to inform many ratepayers are as to the role of elected officials and how the decisions reached by this local government touch their daily lives, such as recreation, roads, water and sewer, fire services, policing, libraries, and waste management. I believe communication and education is a good start to an informed public. I will continue to listen and bring forth the concerns of you, the ratepayer, and work intently to keep taxes as low as possible without giving up the integrity of our existing infrastructure and future development. A wise person once said to me, there are 3 types of individuals who seek the position of an elected official. The first candidate has a personal agenda. He or she has their own cause they hope to attain for their own benefit or growth. Person 2 may want to pursue a supplement income and achieve financial gain. And person 3 is a person like myself who just wants to make a difference by working hard for the betterment of our municipality. I work, live and play in Whitewater Region, and my only agenda is to somehow make some contribution that makes our municipality a great place to live so we can all continue to thrive and grow together. Thank you.
Just like to thank those 11 candidates, making my job very, very easy. When the 2 minutes was up, they literally stopped, which is amazing, but really good. Thank you very much for that. The candidates on this side will do the same kind of format for the first 2, which is the reposition. They will also have the 2 minutes, and we'll take the mic over to them.
Our first candidate for Reeve is Terry Miller. He'll be our first speaker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Terry Miller. I've lived in this area all my life. I think most of you know that, the ones I know anyway. I own Miller Feed and Seed. I started it when I was 22 years old. Didn't know the difference between oats and barley, about as much as I do know about municipal politics right now. However, I will learn, and I see things that could be done much better in our municipality. In particular, I hear a lot of talk here tonight about growth and development. That's certainly the one that I would like to work on and see happen, and I certainly understand all the obstacles put in place as acknowledged by the other candidates. But I'd like to take it a little step further. It's okay to earn more money by new development. However, if you don't make that money and save it and use it to get value for the money, you're really not much further ahead. I liken it to a guy making $700 a week says he can't save any money. And the analogy is you give him another $100 a week, and a year later you're saying, I can't save any money. Human nature is to spend money, whether you're a business, an individual, or a corporation. So I say Whitewater first, everybody else second. Any businessman will tell you, pay yourself first, deal with what's left, because it's all going to go anyway. So I ask for your vote. I bring a lot to the table as far as business knowledge, growth, and people management. And I ask you all to consider this when you're voting. Don't vote for your wife's first cousin once removed. Vote for who you will think will make change in this township. Thank you very much.
Dave should do this, but I brought the mic over to him because we're going to tilt it a little bit because Donnie's in for a hip replacement pretty soon, so you're fine now? No, you're fine. Okay, stay there. I don't want to change it now. Donnie Raffle, a candidate for Reeve.
Thank you, Ted. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank the people who organized this event this evening. And I was born and raised on the farm in the middle of Ross Township with 4 sisters and 3 brothers. And after getting married, we purchased a house in the farm of Ross, where we still live today. I worked at the magnesium mine over 40 years. The last 30 appointed distribution manager of purchasing, transportation, storage, and yard operations. 18 years as a councillor in the farm of Ross. The last 14 years Deputy Mayor, and 2 years Warden of Renfrew County. Experience will matter as council grapples with the critical decisions over the next 4 years in the Whitewater region. We must continue to confront the provincial government on Endangered Species Act, police costs, and pressure the government to increase transfer payments and gas tax to improve our infrastructure and roads. At the county level, we must continue to be involved with ACL restructuring. When I was warden on behalf of the county council, I made a presentation to the federal and provincial ministers to support from Eastern Wardens Caucus with our concerns. As chair of social service for the county, I have a real concern on the report that 1 child out of 7 is living in poverty. This will be the same in the Whitewater region. I thank the person that started the food bank here in Cobden and all volunteers for food banks in Renfrew County. We must support and accept the tourist business. They are all the biggest assets to work for dollars in our community. We should look the next couple of years to see if we need 7 councillors or do we need 5. If we reduce by 2 councillors, we will be a saving of $24,000. I think 5 could probably handle it. Thank you very much.
Those are our candidates for Reeve, Terry Miller and Donnie Rathwell. Now it's the candidates for the mayor of our municipality, Whitewater region, and they will have 3 minutes to deliver their speeches. First one is Jim LeBeau.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've had the privilege of being a municipal councillor for the last 23 years, serving the last 4 as your mayor. During that time, one of the most important moments we had was approval of our official plan amendment by Renfrew County Council. While we wait for the final approval from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, we must start working on the comprehensive zoning bylaw that implements the plan so that we have one plan and only one set of bylaws for the whole township. During the last term of council, we also completed the first strategic plan for the township, giving directions to achieve the township goals. This is a living document that must be updated periodically and used during the preparation of the township budget. Even with this plan, the preparation of the budget is difficult as we continually face challenges of funding that falls short of needs. The increased assessment for policing as it is phased in over the coming term will impact other portions of the budget, and we struggle with the choices that must be made to find money for this new expense. Our road system represents the single most expensive item in our budget and must be given the highest priority. Economies must be found to move forward with the necessary maintenance and improvements that were identified in our asset management plan. That plan needs to be expanded to include buildings and equipment for all departments, and they need to be brought into compliance with the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. All other areas of our operations, including the levels of service, must be examined closely. We must work on ways to promote development, to broaden our tax base while preserving the agricultural heritage and rural values that are so important to our history. It's not all doom and gloom, though. We successfully negotiated with the Ontario government to have new water lines and upgraded sewer lines on Highway 17 in Cobden prior to them repaving. We've had residential development in Beachburg, and plans are well underway for development in Cobden. We have initiated a class environmental assessment of the wastewater treatment plant in Cobden as the first step in its eventual replacement. The Muskrat Watershed Council, formed of interested volunteers, is proceeding with studies and pilot projects to help clean up the water in the lake and beyond. We've had some interest from people looking to set up businesses in our industrial park. During the last term, I represented you on the Pembroke Area Airport Commission, Ottawa River Power Corporation, Ottawa River Energy Solutions, and the Upper Ottawa Valley Medical Recruitment Committee, attending 12 to 15 meetings a year for those extra committees. I've also represented you at events ranging from local fairs to meetings with ministry staff at conferences. I feel privileged and proud to have been able to do that and would be honored to continue to be at your service. I bring a lifetime of involvement with community organizations, and I also bring business experience as a licensed pharmacist for 37 years and a small business owner for the last 17 years. I look forward to serving another term as your mayor. Thank you for your attention and your support.
candidate for mayor is Hal Johnson.
Wow. Great turnout. And welcome to all of the citizens of Whitewater Region. Thank you, Dave, Ted, and Connie, and Ron for organizing this evening. It's very important. I'm Hal Johnson. I'm running for mayor for the Township of Whitewater Region. I have over 15 years of working with municipal government. 10 of those were as Public Works Supervisor for the Township of Whitewater Region. I continue to work with municipal governments in my current job. I served 2 terms on the Beachburg Council. We need to look at this municipality as one municipality. I want the public to have a say in council meetings. I want to have an open forum at the end of council meetings. Qualified people in this community should be asked to sit on committees. I intend to represent all of the people of Whitewater Region. We need to support and encourage local business. Buy local. Buy local. Implement change to allow development. Fast-track building permits have an effective plan. Council needs to work with representatives from the provincial, county, and private companies to help achieve development. We have a strong agricultural base, low crime, tourism, recreation, an excellent community health center that we are building on, great schools that are the center of our communities. Our community is as strong as our volunteers, and we have a very strong volunteer community. A lot of talent and expertise in our community. We have great communities to raise our families. Need to continue to work with them to implement ways to keep a strong recreation, education, business community. We need to work with the county to increase economic growth within the county. We know that income and education improve health. We know that a strong community will grow happy, healthy individuals. We need to make sure, as a municipality, all is being done to provide for and encourage growth to move towards economic strength and at the same time maintain reasonable taxes, so that people will want to stay in the Whitewater region and other people will want to come here to live. Thank you.
The next mayoralty candidate is Doug.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Doug Shields, and I want to be your mayor. We are living in very serious times. The province's overspending has put increased pressure on municipalities. They've blown it and we're broke. So this election should not be about popularity, sympathy, the gift of the gab, or who's done what for how long. It's about finding the right people to form a strong team to lead us into the future. A team must work towards a common goal. That goal has to be the health and prosperity of our region and our people. We need a new team, a team of individuals who are willing to stand up and stand strongly together to opposition from the county and the province. We can't afford to be passive. We have to take the lead and create a clear path for the future of Whitewater. Growth and development must be top priority. An increase of 94 people on our voters list since 2010 is unacceptable. Our region has to grow. Growth will fill our schools, churches, and all our sports facilities. The tax base increase from new development will generate funds to help maintain and improve services. Our local businesses will thrive and we will create employment. Everybody wins. It's time to build. Let's stop wasting money, our money, on consultants and unnecessary equipment. Let's find creative ways to avoid the $1 million price tag on policing. Let's utilize our resources within and start buying local, because it only makes sense to support each other. Unelected bureaucrats can't continue to tell us what to do. Our newly elected council must work with the people to set the agenda. An agenda that includes exercising our rights as taxpayers to govern our own region. We must preserve our identity before the county swallows us up. The people of this beautiful region are like one big family. No matter which part of the region you live in, it is our responsibility to make sure your needs and interests are met. If we do that, we will be successful. I may not have the fast answers, but I promise I will do the work and the research to give you the right answer. I have the time, the passion, and the courage to stand up with honesty and integrity for our region. On October 27th, we have an opportunity to select a new team. I would love to lead that team. I'm Doug Shields, and I want to be your mayor. Thank you.
Next candidate is Joey Trim.
In your view, what should be the top priorities for the council that is elected on October 27th? That was question number 5 from a list of questions that the Whitewater News asked all candidates to answer. Of course I did answer that question, but since then I've come to believe that it's the wrong question. The question should be, what do I understand are your priorities for the incoming council? Over the past number of weeks, while campaigning, I've had an opportunity to meet and listen to many people, and I'm hearing your concerns loud and clear. You've told me that you want a prosperous community with growth and development, providing the necessary resources for good jobs, a place to work, raise your families, and to retire, while maintaining unique environment and quality of life we are all so proud of. This could only be achieved through wise planning and a more aggressive approach to promoting our township as being the best place to live, work, and play in the beautiful Upper Ottawa Valley, which we should be promoting constantly as a tourist destination. I am hearing you say that council should pursue tirelessly every government grant and funding opportunity, while at the same time lobbying our provincial politicians for help we so desperately need in areas such as infrastructure and policing. Provincial regulations and policies can be, and many times are, harmful to our growth and economic welfare. The Endangered Species Act and pending regulations that restrict development are some good examples of this. We all want to make sure that rules and regulations are there to make everyone's lives better, not to make them worse. And I believe that we should review all of our own bylaws and their implementation. You've told me that we must ensure that our financial house is in order. Ours is now an $8 million budget. That's a lot of money, and it's your money. Members of council simply must ensure that every dollar is spent wisely. More openness and transparency will help us stay on track financially. Related to this is the question as to how we provide services. I can't tell you how many times I have been told, be more businesslike. And there are many tried and true business strategies we should adopt, especially in our roads program. We will spend $3.7 million on roads, and we should do it with a profit-making mindset. I am hearing that you want change. I want change too. Elect me as your mayor, and I will make change happen. Finally, to answer the question.
Just to follow up to any of these where we've cut them off or they've actually sat down, if you want to talk to them individually after, feel free. Let them finish their speech to you. There'll be coffee, yeah, there'll be socializing. Well, they've all done so well. Yeah, it's a good question. Right? Not a problem. Okay, this question is, and it was brought up at the West Mead. It's a general question. It was in Kathy's brown bag. We have heard that the township is $1.8 million in the red, a deficit. How are you going to put us back in the black?
That's a fair question. It's a tough question. We certainly can't do it. We've got infrastructure that we still have to try and maintain. And being in a deficit is not always such a bad thing, because when you are applying for grants and different programs, with running a deficit, they take a look at that and they'll often come through and give you funding. If you're ahead of the game, they're going to pass you over. So it's not always such a bad thing. But again, I think too, economic development and growth, we definitely have to take a good look at that. We're trying to revitalize our industrial park to bring in another tax base. So I think there's many opportunities out there. We just have to figure out a way to do it. Thank you.
Here's the question of what is your highest priority for Whitewater region? Highest priority.
The highest priority, I think, for Whitewater region, which will answer a lot of questions, is accountability. Accountability not only for council, but for staff as well. They're spending our tax dollars, and we need to make sure that they're being spent wisely. By making sure there's accountability and decision making, then we know that there would be good road maintenance, that there would be good things done in the municipality, for our tourism, for economic development, for all of the departments, recreation. All of that has to be looked at, and it all comes down to accountability. If you take accountability straight across the board, then we can be sure that we have good communication to the ratepayers and to the residents of the township. It's important that you, as a resident, realize what the township is making a decision on and what the tough decisions will be. And that would be my highest priority. Thank you.
Almost like what teachers write, you can't read them. What can council do to protect other township lakes from becoming like Muskrat Lake?
Give us the candidates' names. Who is answering the question?
Donna Burns, oh, I'm sorry. We'll reintroduce everybody as they come along.
Okay, what can council do to protect other township lakes from becoming like Muskrat Lake? Wow. What can council do? Well, I really don't know what I can say to that. That's a difficult question to answer. What can council do? They should be aware They should be on top of it. When you got blue algae on the lake, they should be acting on it right away, responsibly, and doing something about it as far as the ministry and everything is concerned. They shouldn't let it drag. The first time they see this, any contamination in the lake, they act on it and get it cleaned up. Thank you.
This along, Alan Dick. It says, Councillor, please explain to the Whitewater taxpayers why this council continues to allow the endless use of consulting contractors for the studies of landfill use, road work operations, public development projects, and drinking water and wastewater treatment operations, just to name a small number, and the cost of $400,000 per year. Councils who have hired staff with the need qualifications, certifications, licenses, to provide Whitewater taxes with management information. So I ask you why you deviated from the required job qualifications and hired unqualified individuals to have these departments.
Well, that's a long one, I'll tell you. Well, where do I start? I would say with the water and sewer, I'll address that first. There's no doubt about it. It costs a lot of money to operate that facility. I think most people got to understand that the provincial government has set the bar way too high for that kind of thing. Believe it or not, we've set the bar for the world, and I mean it's ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. I mentioned that in my little speech there too, that I find that there's so much that the provincial government has downloaded, and also the cost of operation. It's a real problem, there's no doubt about it. What else was there, Ted? Dealing with consultants. A lot of people don't realize that everything we do today, it's either an engineer, a lawyer, or a consultant. And I have to agree with you folks. It's crazy. It's right out of hand. The public sector, no doubt, is out of control. They've imposed so many rules and regulations, and I just feel that there has to be some recourse to all this. So basically that's all I've got to say. Thanks.
Any of these questions that are in the bag are going to go back into the bag, and as I said, if the councillor wants to address them, they can. Either openly or after. Yeah, it's the same question. Daryl, it says, what is your highest priority for Whitewater region?
I think like everybody else, it's growth and development. If we get growth and development, then we get more tax bases, we prosper, as everybody said, we fill our arenas, we fill our schools. It would be great, and it is one thing we have to do. And to get growth and development, as I said, I think we need, especially along the Ottawa River, a good, reliable an affordable, high-speed internet service. You're not going to attract people today if you don't have reliable, good, high-speed internet service. Internet service is one of the biggest things that these people want. They'll come. We're not going to get great big companies. We're going to get small companies like the brewery, which is now has 13, 14 people, and hoping to expand from there. So I think we have to look at that, and we have to go that way as to try and encourage small industries. I don't think there's any big industries going to come, hopefully maybe, to the industrial park, and people will, there will be 15, 20 people, but it's the small places that will come. They'll come, and it's the main thing we need to do, is push growth and development. We need to lobby when we go to these conferences, get help, and get grants to come down, help with their infrastructure. We need to get better roads, but we need help, and that's where we're going to get it. If we need to lobby when we go to the conferences, meet with the ministers, talk with the ministers, there'll be money, but we need to push. Thank you.
Donnie Bruce's question is, how would you work with the provincial government to get the grants that we need?
Well, that is a good question. And, I think the way that we should do that is, as part of the new council, would be to involve the experience and the expertise of some of our former councillors and the Reeve of Cobden, the former Reeve of Cobden. We can take some people like that down to Toronto, where they have had the occasion to go before, and they always get back money, grants, you know. So that's one thing. I think we should put more emphasis on going down there ourselves, instead of having to go through Renfrew County bureaucrats who are unelected and would like us to always go through them. And you know what happens when you have something you want to ask somebody, if you get somebody else to ask them what it is, something gets lost in the translation, and it leaves an opening for people with agendas of one type or another to transform what you've asked for into something that they themselves would like to have. I guess to sum it all up, like I said, I think we should have more of a role in doing this ourselves. That's about it. Thank you.
John Crow's question is, in what way are you prepared to promote Whitewater region in order to ensure a sustainable, prosperous future for our region?
Which way am I going to promote Whitewater region? In order for us to grow, we have to attract people and business. People, they need housing. If there's nothing for people to buy here, or no new homes for them to live in, they're not coming. Ottawa's coming this way, so we have to ensure that there's something here for them. People will drive an hour to go to work. They won't drive 5 hours, but we're 55 minutes from the Corral Center in Cobden. That's a sustainable drive. As the 4-lane highways come, the distance or the time frame will get shortened. We have a vacant railroad bed that runs through our township. Cycling, nature trails, hiking, that sort of venue is coming in the future. So why are we not on that now? The train's not coming back. So we might as well put bicycles. Not real sure about four-wheelers, but there is a recreational trail there that the base is there. We just have to use it and influence it and promote it, because we might as well get on the bandwagon and get ahead of the trail. The Southern Ontario's got the Trans-Canada trail down through Toronto, down to that area. We can take this trail through Eastern Ontario, from Ottawa through to North Bay, and promote the upper end of Ontario. There's a lot of things up here that a lot of people wish they had, so let's show it to them and sell it to them. Thank you.
One of the questions I can't read, so I can't give that one, and the other one I'm not going to let it be presented. As I said, they go back in the bag, and if people put them in, go and see them. Just do the priorities again, and where we're going to go with the priorities I view as a councillor in 2014 to 2018.
Thank you, Ted. Okay, top priorities. Well, I believe the top priority is changing the way the council interfaces and works with all of you. It really doesn't matter what I think the top priority is. It matters what you think and what your collective opinions are. Most of the answers that we need, there's lots of experience and lots of people here that have the ability to help with those answers, and I think that council should be more open to taking your ideas, your input, and then working as a team to move forward with them. Thank you.
Question to Joe. There are many areas, small communities in the Whitewater region. How can we be assured that your support will be for all of the region, not just Beachburg? Conduct with local fairs on local fair weekends.
Thank you. Well, I'm a firm believer in the Ottawa Valley and Whitewater region. Been here 40 years, love every aspect of it. You know, we have so much potential. I went on Google Earth and measured all the waterfront that we have in this municipality. We have something like 200,000 feet of shoreline. That is truly tremendous. All the way around, obviously, I'm keen on the Ottawa River, and we have so much potential, and we have wonderful communities. I've lived here for 40 years. I see no reason. There's benefits in Westmeath, in Cobden, in Foresters Falls, in Beachburg. Obviously, I live near Beachburg, so I'm a little bit partial, but we live in a wonderful area, and I would certainly promote the entire area because I believe in it, and that's what I've done for the last 40 years.
This one's to Chris Umstead. Where do you stand with taking paved tire chip roads back to gravel?
Well, I didn't do it. I guess I use an analogy where if I'm driving to get somewhere, I look in my windshield 99% of the time, and the rearview mirror 1% of the time. So I think we have to look forward rather than behind us. I think if it fits in the plan, then you've planned it. And that decision has to fit the short, medium, long-term plan for your community. I think it's a step backwards to start taking a road back 20, 30, 40 years ago. But I know the technology, I know there's technologies out there. For instance, I grew up in the Kerr line, and that road was tarred and chipped, I think when I was about 4 years old, and I don't know if it's been done since. So, but it was a much better tar and chip process back then than it is now. So bottom line, I think we have to have a very solid plan, 1 year, 3 to 5 years, 10 years, And every decision you make should fit within that overall structure of the plan. And you would see in there the Township roads may be on the plan in 2 years. Well, you know that then. It shouldn't be a surprise when you're turning roads back to gravel at a council meeting. It should absolutely be part of the structure. That's about it.
Bonnie Rappel's question is, how would you bring our costs that we're spending back into line?
Well, certainly a problem with the way things are going up nowadays. But one thing I can tell you is, as Chair of Social Services for Renfrew County, and knowing the hardship that's out there the last few years, and also in Warden, and in the Whitewater region, we have so many people with fixed incomes, and we got lots of families with small families that's having problems today. So therefore we cannot continue to raise taxes to do everything we're going to do. We've got to find another source of it. You know, if we go up 2.5% every year, that's one area. But if you start looking at some of our neighbors say they're going up 7 and 8 to meet the police costs, we can't do that. And if what we got to do here is take a look. Our police costs will go up 1.5% in 2015 for 2015. We got to find the other 2%. We cannot go up over 3%. We got to be there and under, because there's too many families, too many seniors living on fixed incomes, and that's the way I keep it alive. We've got to keep the costs down under that 3%. We can't go up there 7 and 8%. Ladies and gentlemen, it'll be more than 1.7 kids in trouble. It'll be 1.3 or 4. Then we've all got a problem. Thank you.
Terry Miller's question is, what drew you to County Council, which means Reeve, instead of Whitewater Council?
Because I want a shot at Toronto through Renfrew County. And I want to control or lead my part in at least reviewing what transpires between Whitewater County and the province. And I want to report back to you what the heck's going on here. That's my answer.
Council, please explain to the Whitewater taxpayer why this council continues to allow the endless use of consulting contractors for studies on land use, road work operations, public development projects, and drinking water and wastewater treatment operations, just to name a very small number, at a cost of approximately $400,000 a year. Councilors, you are the hired staff with needs qualifications, certification, licenses, and trained to provide water taxpayers with managing information needed to operate the different departments. So I ask why you deviated from your required job qualifications. Individuals to head these departments, such as Public Works, Environmental Services, and Bylaws.
That is indeed a very good question, and I have no idea where the $400,000 per year on consultants has come from. I don't know the exact cost myself. However, just recently, after 8 or 9 years of trying, we finally got some headway with the ministry with respect to development on Muskrat Lake. That's one of the best, I feel, the best achievements the municipality has done recently. Now, the reason we were able to make that progress is because we spent $15,000 on a consultant, Mike Bukowski, who finally got us unstuck, and we were able to make a very comprehensive and detailed presentation to the to Toronto. And they listened to that. They really didn't have any arguments against it, and we now, it looks like, that we now are going to be able to have development on Muskrat Lake, which wasn't going to happen otherwise, and we couldn't do it. We tried for 9 years, and we're stuck. That $15,000 was very, very well spent. And I am going to state here that except for some legal fees that we shouldn't be spending, any other amounts of money that we're spending on consultants is wisely spent, and I wouldn't vote for it if it wasn't. Thank you very much.
Doug Shields, your question is, how are you going to bring costs in line?
Well, bringing costs in line. First priority, again, is consultants' fees and unnecessary equipment. We're buying equipment that sits in the garage at the Ross Township garage and doesn't move. So it doesn't. Bring it in line, bring building. Let's get some building in here.
The Whitewater Historical Society and Ross Museum do receive some financial and clerical support from the municipality. However, local heritage and culture is generally ignored. To our only museum is receiving fewer visitors. What will you do to support and promote local history and culture in Whitewater region?
It is a good question. Our history is very important, and our history in Whitewater region consists of a lot of diversity. I feel that we should be supporting it. I'm not exactly sure at this point how we can support it, but we have to support it, because our future generations actually will be able to see how our ancestors did things in our municipality, settlers and so on and so forth. I've been very often to the museum, and it's absolutely excellent. I've actually donated some stuff to the museum, and I'm very proud of it. So I think we need to organize into the system, get grants, whatever we can do. But we have to support our heritage. We have to support our families and our families' heritage. Thank you.
Jim LeBeau, your question is, has council considered contracting out the dump coverage rather than the township buying its own hi-ho and bulldozer? Would that, well, it's basically contracting to cover the dump. Would it save money? Contracting out versus employees running the dump in terms of equipment.
It's a good question. I'm not sure that it would save money, just because of the regulations regarding having to have waste covered within 24 hours. That means that the contractor would have to basically leave his hi-ho there and come in and use it. I know that would make him pay for the hi-ho, but you're going to pay an awful lot in contractor rentals in order to do that. So I'm not sure that having a contractor do that would
Just say who you are, and you are a Whitewater Region taxpayer?
Yes.
You're right.
Yes, and I'm a new Whitewater Region taxpayer. I would like to address this question to either Jim LeBeau or someone who has been on council, perhaps Jolene Trim. The 417, does anybody know which side of the lake that is going on to? Is there a plan?
where did I put the portable mic? Who's got the portable mic? You want to give it to Joey or to Jim?
Is this? Yes, the plans have been in place for a number of years now, and the route is north of Muskrat Lake.
So that would be on the other, where the park is.
It's still on the far side of the lake going up.
That's correct.
What we call the east side of the lake going up on that side.
That is the answer, and it has been the answer for a number of years. I'd say at least 10, 12 years for sure. Yeah.
Jim, do you want to take a shot at that, or is that okay? It's okay.
Well, my name is Keith Bromley. I live in Westmead. Mr. Shields, with all respect, you're running for mayor. I wondered why you have not had an opportunity or a wish to run for council prior to running for mayor.
That other mic might work there too, Ronnie, the one that's on the shelf on the stand.
Thank you for the question. The reason that I chose to run for mayor was to give you people a fresh face on council at the mayor position, somebody that has not been tied in with past councils since amalgamation. That's why.
Well, we're doing better than at the other council. We've had two. No, I'm sorry, we had two, and they actually had three, so we're still following down. You got the mic there, Dave? Dave's got a mic there.
I don't really know who to address it to, but I'm Mary Ann Swan, and I've lived in this area since 1948, so figure it out. I am going to be 81 next month, so I have seen a lot in my day. But I have never seen a road as bad as Sutherland Road that is just on the border, and I think it is because we are such a fringe of Whitewater region. And anybody that is on the road committee, I would like to find out what they are planning on doing with that road. I'm losing half my car each time I go to the park.
Well, maybe you're partly right, because it is on the upper side of the Whitewater region, and by times I get a call from up there that it should be graded. It's not graded, it's washboardy, and but outside that, there was a problem there last year in about June or July a bit because there was a lack of gravel on it, but we did put gravel on it after, and so in the future, no, you got a point there. The grader doesn't go up there as often as it probably should, and that may be the reason, because it travels a fair amount of ground to get there.
We have been traveling that road with hay and everything else all those years, and it has never been fixed because it's just like swamp there. And so something has to be done with
No, definitely there's a couple of low areas there that need some build-up, no question about it. You're absolutely right.
There's one there, Joey, do you want to go ahead?
Is this working?
Yeah.
I am a terrible campaigner. I like to visit more than I like to campaign, and I stopped in at Mrs. Swan's place, and you can imagine the visit I had there. Actually, it was great because she gave me an awful lot of the history of this area. 66 years, if you didn't do the math, is how long she's been here. Her maiden name was Van Loon, so she told me the joke, a loon married a swan. Anyway, I'm happy to. I had a good chat with Mrs. Swan, and I want to take this opportunity to clear up a little bit of a misconception, which is related to roads that happened at the very first question. Some people, and I noticed Mrs. Phyllis McLeish sitting here, and she shook her head when it was mentioned that there was a deficit. The municipality had a deficit. It's illegal for us to budget a deficit. As a matter of fact, last year we had a surplus. What's being talked about here is our needs assessment. If we wanted to bring our roads up to the level that we feel we should have, it would cost $2 million today. That's the deficit. It doesn't mean we owe $2 million. Well, I think we owe Mrs. Swan some to get that road gravel, because I was on it. She's right. We need to put some more emphasis on our roads. Everybody's talking about development, me too. We want new people to move here. However, the question every business or every individual asks is, what are the roads like? Am I going to be able to get to work in the wintertime? Are people going to be able to get my supplies into me? What's it going to cost to keep my car in repair? We want people to come here, and I know I'm a broken record on this, and maybe it's because of my years as a road superintendent, but we got to do something about the roads.
Thank you, Jim. I have a question for Terry Miller. Phil Cottrell from the Hut. You made a good comment that you want a shot at Toronto. Fine. What exactly does that mean, Terry?
What? Do you want to repeat? I didn't pick it up. So there's a little bit of an accent there.
Sorry, I don't have an accent. Everybody else does. I keep telling you that. Terry, you said you were going to take a shot at Toronto. In Westmeath, you also said we have to get our financial house in order. Fine, but how are you going to do this? And specifically, how and what are you going to do in taking a shot at Toronto?
Okay. In regard to the shot on Toronto, I just believe that we have to work through or around the unelected officials at Redford County that represent what the province wants to dictate on us. As for actually getting to Toronto, that's a long shot, not a shot. But those people work for Toronto, and that's my understanding. So I want to be there to deal with them and see what goes on. Now you have a second part to this question. What was it?
You talked about getting the financial house in order. That's when you left me. But how would you specifically do that?
How would I do that? I would lean towards a day-by-day monitoring of that. In other words, what we can save every day will add up. One of the candidates here mentioned earlier about accountability, not just for all these people here you may elect, but also for the staff of Whitewater. And I think there's some issues in there. And I think if they can be dealt with, we can save money. Okay? So that is how I would propose to do that. If I'm elected, and with council's permission, of course, I'm in a position to go into that office every day for an hour and start learning and looking. And that's what I want to do, and I'll get results. Thank you.
I'd like to come back to the Sutherland Road again. 2 loads of gravel or stone would fix that road. Not $1 million.
I think it's a comment, not a question, because really it was addressed, and now they know where Sutherland Road is, and I would assume before next Monday there'll be 2 loads of gravel on Sutherland Road.
I'd like to direct a question to Mr. Chris Olmsted. I'd like him to expand more. He talked in his speech the other night at Westmeath about parks, recreations, arenas, to make the full use of arenas. Arenas sometimes are sitting on a Sunday afternoon empty, and that's totally it's not acceptable. When there's teams and there's people out there who give their eye teeth for that ice time, why is it sitting empty on a Sunday afternoon? I'd like Mr. Olmsted to address that.
Thanks, Dad. I can honestly tell you that this is the first time I've heard that question. This is not a loaded question from him. On my children's heads. So in Westmeath, I made a comment about recreation and tourism, where, again, earlier I said, we need to start thinking in terms of from I to we, from my to our. It's one region now, folks, so let's get over the old ward system and Cobden versus Beachford versus Westmeath. So I have heard of instances where I'll use a couple of examples. So I coach a AA hockey team that uses arenas throughout the entire Ottawa Valley area. And I know of cases where a particular arena has been phoned looking for ice time, and the ice times are full. However, a neighboring arena might have 2, 3, 4 hours in the evening that's not mentioned by the person running one arena to the person looking for ice. So I think if the 3 work as a collective group, perhaps it's time for a recreation association that governs the entire recreation community, arenas, ball fields, parks. I'm not going to go on and on here, but trails as well. And again, in Westmeath, I mentioned I have a real burr in my saddle about trails and our trail system that would fall under the recreation and tourism jurisdiction, where we're going backwards. We have 2 trails that run through our community that would be fantastic recreation trails, be snowmobiling, walking, hiking, 4-wheeling, whatever you want to call it. And I know there's concerns out there about insurance and liability and that kind of stuff. Associations are covered with insurance. So if you have somebody going through your property right now using the trail that comes through Cobden here, you're not covered by insurance. If that is designated as a trail under the Ontario Federation of Snowmobilers or some other designation, you are then covered by their insurance. Again, just to bring it back, I think one body to look after the entire recreation department would really be a benefit to the community.
Here I have a question here from Sharon Grimko. Not Ronnie this time, Sharon.
I'm going to address this to probably the Reeds because they may be more helpful to me. I'm wondering, we have three grievances against Whitewater. And I'd like to know how they're going to help deal with this when these 3 people who are running for an office here are unable to assist us, because if there's a question come up, they aren't going to be able to vote, from my understanding. I could be wrong. I don't think so. So how are they going to help us? when these three people cannot vote?
I guess it's, she addressed it to the Reeves, so it's either Donnie or Terry. You notice how they already passed the buck. He's learning quick, isn't he?
At this particular time, and that particular question, the way it's all fallen into the council, I would rather not make a comment on it. I'm sorry about that to the person that asked the question, but I think that's just appropriate at this particular time. At a later date, I probably could answer that, but not right now. I don't want to right now.
Thanks, Donnie. Any others? Archie?
My name is Archie Reagan. I'm really concerned about voting today. I get my things in the mail for voting. I get three voting cards that I can vote on. My wife didn't get any. I got 6 grandchildren. I didn't get any. I'm just wondering if there's any more, and I found out some people are dead for 4 years and they get a card. What the hell is going on? That's what I like to do. Show me, Chris, would you answer that, please?
The voter, that is an excellent question. Really good question. I've known people in the same situation, Archie, so glad you brought it up. The fact is, the voting list is made by impact, the people who do the assessment on people's property. And so if you're paying taxes, then they send you a voter registration card. That's the way it's supposed to work. We're not involved with it. Now, if you don't, lots of times somebody will die, one of a couple, a husband or a wife will die, and that won't be noted by impact. They won't know that unless you change the deed somehow. And so, yes, deceased people will show up. Now, there was a program, the government had a program whereby you could check to see whether or not you're on the voters list. It was free and you could do it. Mike Mercier, what's the comedian?
Rick Mercer.
Rick, he promoted it. He was the face of this, so people could check to see if they're on the voters list. And so, I mean, people who aren't on the voters list or couldn't get a card can still vote. They just need to identify themselves and bring some proof that they live where they say they live. And you can vote here at the office in Cobden or at the rink in Westmeath. But you can still vote. It's just that there will be these glitches, and we're not responsible for it. But we're certainly going to take the flak for it.
Joey, just to clarify that, because there may be a lot of people in the audience that have run into that. So for example, they're not getting a PIN number, so they physically have to vote by paper?
Yes.
And what will they need to prove that they exist when they come to the voting station?
Well, proof of who they are, a driver's license would do that, or a health card, or anything like that, and proof that you live where you say you live. But that would be on the driver's license for most people too. Or a bill from a utility company if you're renting, or something like that. Or if you're new to the community. That's the way it would work.
I have another, Charlene wants to answer that. Hal, you want to make a comment?
The Westmeath Arena, not the Beachburg Arena, there are no returns in Beachburg. Just want to correct that. There are a lot of mistakes made by MPAC, and so unfortunately, nothing was straightened out before this election, but will have to be straightened out before the next election. So unfortunately, some people get 6 votes, some people get 1 vote, and it looks like a lot of people don't get any vote. And so that will have to be corrected.
You can vote, you have to show up in person to get a PIN number, but it does not mean that you have to vote in person. It means that you will get a new PIN number and you can vote by telephone, or you can vote by internet or in person. So what happens is MPAC sends out a list to a municipality. If somebody that's working in the municipality actually knows before the letters go out, for sure 100% that person has passed away, they can delete that off the list and say that that person has passed away. Unfortunately, what happens, some people will pass away over the last 4 years and their property is never sold, so their deed is never changed. And it's still in the previous owner's name who has passed away. So the name remains on the list, unfortunately. As far as grandchildren getting added to the list or other people coming in, residents that are not property owners, if they're not listed, and what happens with the Canada Census list is you fill that out and you add your tenants, or you add people that are living in your household. If that's not picked up by MPAC, and they don't necessarily share that information, then that information is left blank. Unfortunately, in some municipalities, when there's been change 1 year to the electors list, it's not necessarily brought into the second year, because again, if that property is still listed in the person that has deceased name, and it's never changed over 8 years, sometimes it's a long estate, then that name remains on the list. If that person was a tenant and not an owner, they're not sure whether or not that person still lives there or not. So it's very difficult for staff, but please, if you do not get a voter's, and you should all have them by now, the PIN, and please go into the office. The girls will definitely help you out, or give me a call and I'll help you as much as I can. Thank you.
Speaking of MPAC, we all go to this campground. We are a tourism attraction. We know that a lot of our seasonal campers spend a lot of money in Cobden and the surrounding area. My husband and I, to beautify our property, planted 9,300 seedlings 4 years ago. They are beautiful this year. They're growing in great leaps and bounds. We asked MPAC for a tax reduction because of the 9,300 seedlings. That is it. As our property is no longer farmland, it is now a tree property. We were advised that we had to contact Ministry of Natural Resources and have them say that yes, it's a tree property. I asked the young lady if she needed my glasses. Can anyone answer the question, why do we need to have a ministry come on our property and advise MPAC that we have 9,300 seedlings that were planted and a contract signed with Trees Ontario that we are not permitted to cut these trees down for 15 years. Why do we need another ministry to tell us?
Nobody wants Charlene?
It helps when I work in a municipality for 19 years. It's the same way as a farmer. Every year they have to apply to the Ministry of Ag to prove that they have farmland. To prove they have to, there's certain requirements that have to be met to obtain the farmland assessment, which is 25% of the tax rate for residential. Same as managed forest, there is an application process, and it's probably, I've never seen it, but I would think that they would need a copy of that, because it's not MPAC. It's the Ministry of Natural Resources that looks after that, same as the Ministry of Agriculture looks after farmland and designates it. It's just a law, that's the way it is. Unfortunately, I agree with you, but MPAC assesses the property, and the ministry ensures that all of the application is filled out correctly and all the information is there. It's the same for farmland.
Thanks, Charlene. Okay, I guess I think we've had a great evening. At least everybody got a chance to say something. We're going to now probably go over and have, on behalf of the Agricultural Society, have some tea and coffee. Nobody decided to bring any cookies and sandwiches, so I guess you'll have to do that when you get home. But anyway, on behalf of the organization, and again, I'd like to thank the guys that rang the bell, Jack McLaren, and the girl that had the little stopwatch, Rita Patterson. They did this job and our job very easy. So again, thank you very much. Remember, your voting started today. Some of you may already have voted, but the hard ballot copy is next Monday in here, in this hall, and also in West Beach in the arena. So again, thank you very much.